Oh, I could talk about the titty pants.
Oh my god, talk about the titty pants.
Oh my God, they're so beautiful. So I went to a new thrift store this past week because by the time this episode comes out, we will have already gone to a lovely wedding for one of our dear friends we're very excited about. And I was looking for a dress, so I went to a cool, funky thrift store near me. That's one of those places that also has sewing classes and a makerspace upstairs, and their website says they prioritize plus sizes. And so I just thought, okay, instantly going here. So I went there. The first dress I found was perfect, and I bought it. And then I went back with Miles 2 days later, and I saw instantly a pair of hashtag not sponsored because they're thrifted, but if you want to look them up to see what they look like, Lucy and Yak barrel leg jeans that are fully printed with this sort of pop art style, super colorful assortment of tits of various shapes and sizes. I think there's a couple with top surgery scars on there too. And they're sort of black and white, but printed on colored fabric. They're so weird. I saw them. They're 2 sizes too small for me, but I tried them on anyway because I said if they didn't fit me, I would cry. And I did get them on my body, which was very. And so then I was thinking, okay, do I buy these fucking pants? Where am I going to wear titty jeans? But also, they're in front of me. They're $25. I know that Lucy and Yak is not a cheap brand. They're very expensive. And when else ever in my life am I going to see these? But truly, when I saw them, I was trying them on and looking and being like, oh my God, they're so great. I want these. But one of our friends, Abby, needs these. So we are going to work out a joint custody arrangement because it feels like I am not the owner of these pants so much as I am their temporary steward.
The caretaker of the titty jeans.
Miles is going to a drag show tonight titled Fallout T-Boy. That's an all trans mask cast doing, I assume, a Fallout Boy themed set. And I said, oh my God, you can wear the titty jeans if you want. And they did not wear the titty jeans, sadly.
Disappointing.
But now I'm just constantly looking for reasons to just foist them on people to say, would you like to wear them? Would you like to wear them? We can have a sisterhood of traveling pants of the titty jeans. And I'm just very delighted that they're in my life. I could yell about Attack of the Clones forever. So
There's a lot to yell about here. I think we just have to start. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Apprentice. My name is Ryn. I'm one of your hosts. I grew up with Lord of the Rings, and
wrong one,
returned...
bestie. Wrong one. You said Lord of the Rings.
You know, I grew up with Lord of the Rings too, but I also grew up with Star Wars.
So we're keeping this in.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I grew up with Star Wars and with Lord of the Rings and with a number of other bits of nerdy media. And now for the past several years, I have made it a point to foist that nerdy media upon my dear friend Sam, who, despite being a nerd in her childhood, did not grow up with the same media I did.
Hello, I'm Sam. I'm the other one. At least I usually can tell the difference between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. That I think is a good baseline level to enter into fandom with. I think I can pretty safely tell the two apart most of the time, although they do intersect in this episode.
They do. We're going to get to talk about one of my favorite overlapping actors. There are other overlapping actors between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. I mean, these were produced right around the same time. But I mean, he's the big one.
I think this is occurring to me just now. I think Viggo Mortensen could have played Obi-Wan, but I don't think Ewan McGregor could have played Aragorn.
Interesting.
And I have a lot to say about Ewan McGregor, mostly that I think he is maybe the most beautiful man who has ever lived as he portrays Obi-Wan Kenobi in this film. I am not usually driven to distraction by a person's attractiveness, but I was in this case. And also he's a good actor. He's great, but mostly he's very pretty. But I don't see it transferring. Maybe just because I haven't seen as much of him.
Interesting. Yeah, they exist in a very similar category of man in my brain, I think, because they're both unexpected and unwilling father figures whom you can definitely call daddy in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Both definitely within that category.
We may have a type.
But yeah, now that you say that, we're gonna talk a lot today about Ewan McGregor.
I think they photoshopped his eyes to be more vibrantly green because I was distracted by them. And then I had to Google pictures of his face in normal lighting because I didn't think they were that green. And I think I am right. I think they did color correct them a little bit. So would you like to tell the people what is happening here? Because we've approached it kind of sideways.
So, the purposes here of this podcast is for me to foist media that I grew up with upon my dear co host, Sam. And I have constructed a machete order for watching Star Wars to cause the maximum possible emotional damage, hopefully.
I think it's working so far. I've also never asked you, is machete order a phrase that you came up with, or is this a thing that I was just not aware of?
No, it is a thing. The internet is giving me weird and different explanations. The internet is telling me that machete order originated with Star Wars and developing an order to watch Star Wars because it cuts it up into different sections. Or
Huh.
some people says it cuts out Star Wars episode 1 to preserve the Vader spoiler. There are a bunch of different orders that people have rearranged Star Wars into, particularly the Skywalker saga, the 6 to 9 movies. People have chopped them up and moved them into different orders. And now, because we're including everything else Star Wars that I feel like including, which will also include several books, probably a comic or two. I don't know, there's some like audio dramas out there if we really feel like getting spicy. So, why is it called a machete order? Not sure. I was pretty sure it had something to do with the Danny Trejo movies.
I just thought it was because it was meant to wound me like a machete. So that's just kind of what I expected. I didn't realize that there was such deep lore.
Apparently, Google's AI overview, which I had to go to Google because DuckDuckGo was not giving me useful information, apparently says that the blog that the term originated on had something to do with a machete in the title. I don't know how much of that I believe, considering it doesn't look like any two websites have the exact same explanation. So just know that it is a term that is used with the order that somebody tells you to watch Star Wars in.
Excellent. And in that order, what are we watching today?
In that order, finally, we are today discussing Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, the 2002 epic American space opera film directed by George Lucas and co-written by Jonathan Hales.
Very good.
Apparently, I was destined to confuse Lord of the Rings and Star Wars today. I came so close to typing The Two Towers into my notes title for this episode.
It's the Christopher Lee of it all. It just melds together. Sorry, Sir Christopher Lee.
Sir Christopher Lee, we cannot forget. So, let's start off with sort of your thoughts going in, and then we can go through the plot. And I'm sure we will have side rants aplenty.
Yeah, so my expectations were not high after, what was the last one we watched? Phantom Menace?
Phantom Menace.
That movie was not good. So I didn't know what to expect from this one. I enjoyed it significantly more. I thought Attack of the Clones, which I keep wanting to call Clone Wars because I know that that's a show and that phrase is just more top of mind. So if I accidentally call it Clone Wars, I mean the movie. But I didn't really know
There's
what to
also a
expect
Clone
tonight.
Wars movie.
Oh, there's a fucking Clone Wars movie? Of course there is. So, whatever. If I say the name of a movie that sounds like this one, I mean this one that we're talking about. But I found it just extremely charming and fun. Maybe there was just different stuff about it that worked for me as opposed to the last one. I have a lot of thoughts, but I think they're probably best served for as we go along, and I have some more rants specifically about Anakin and Padme separately and together.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say
Yeah.
about both of them, so those can
Uh-huh.
maybe put a pin in them. And I have thoughts about the Jedi in general, but those were all kind of concluding thoughts. So perhaps we just
Okay.
go chronological order first.
I think that sounds good. And of course, when searching for the opening crawl, I typed in the Two Towers opening crawl. So I think I'm just going to have to title this episode something to do with the Two Towers. So we have our opening crawl, like every Star Wars movie. There is unrest in the Galactic Senate. Several thousand solar systems have declared their intentions to leave the Republic. This separatist movement, under the leadership of the mysterious Count Dooku, has made it difficult for the limited number of Jedi Knights to maintain peace and order in the galaxy. Senator Amidala, the former Queen of Naboo, is returning to the Galactic Senate to vote on the critical issue of creating an army of the Republic to assist the overwhelmed Jedi. So, we open on several starfighters and a Nubian vessel coming out of hyperspace, and they do their big rotation in midair and then come down into the city and land. And we don't see the senator's face. We just see people addressing her and telling her they're going to land. Then the senator comes off and we just see at her distance, and two starfighter pilots get out. One of them is like, I didn't need to worry about the danger at all. And the other one hasn't spoken and is still wearing a helmet. And then the big ship explodes. And of course, that was one of Padme's doubles, and Padme is the starfighter pilot who has not removed her helmet yet.
And apparently she keeps her body doubles after she's done being queen, which makes a lot of sense, but was not something that I knew previously. And I saw, yeah, okay, that tracks. You know, I feel like otherwise you would probably just immediately try to assassinate the former queen if you didn't like her.
Yeah, I mean, this woman and the other one that we meet as well are not women that we were introduced to in the first movie. I don't have the list right in front of me of the names, but the one who dies here right at the intro, who exists to get blown up, is Corday.
Mm-hmm.
And she was not in the first movie. I did have a question of why is she barefoot? The
Oh, I
explosion
didn't notice
blew her
that.
shoes off, I guess.
Post-explosion, Palpatine is briefing the Jedi about the whole war situation, and they're trying to be realistic about the fact that, yeah, there's probably gonna be a war. We would like there to not be, but it's probably gonna happen. Palpatine assigns Obi-Wan to be Padme's security detail because he is appearing to be really concerned about her, because he knows about the assassination attempt, I guess. And my question here upon rewatch, because like with all the other things, I didn't take notes while we were watching the first time because I just wanted to enjoy the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But why? Is this just part of the act that he needs to act like he's really concerned about her because he's sort of her mentor figure? Is he genuinely concerned for her safety because he needs her to execute his evil scheme? A little A, a little B. I don't know.
If I had to guess, just thinking about it, I think, I mean, his main focus, he is clearly grooming Anakin to become a Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really obvious when he meets with Anakin later. He has clearly been spending these last 10 years basically also because he is a Sith Lord. He is masquerading as a politician / is a politician. He has cover for sort of being overprotective of Padme because he is also from Naboo. Like, he's the
Mm-hmm.
former senator from Naboo. So he can sort of play this off as like, oh, I'm concerned about this young woman from my home planet who I mentored in politics.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it. Then I think she is a pawn to put in Anakin's way. Even though technically the person behind the assassination attempts is Newt Gunray, the viceroy of the Trade Federation, who was one of the antagonists in the first movie, who ultimately wants Padme dead because she foiled him 10 years previously. But ultimately, the person behind Newt Gunray is Darth Sidious.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think Sidious has recognized that Anakin cares for Padme. And so if he can kill Padme while Anakin is there, particularly while Anakin is there ostensibly protecting Padme, that's going to just add another domino into the slow breaking of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, and then he'll be there to scoop him up and go, hey, the Sith can help you. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I guess, unfortunately for him, Anakin and Obi-Wan are actually good at their jobs for all of the other bullshit that's happening. They are still actually good at their jobs at the end of the day. And so they do manage to not let Natalie Portman die. But then it becomes really obvious, because Anakin does not hide his feelings at all.
Yeah.
That he cares for Padme, and cares for Padme really, really deeply. And so then she, rather than being a pawn to Sidious, okay, now she's the queen. Now we use her majorly to our advantage.
Yeah.
To destroy Anakin.
And that, I think, is a nice pivot into the next scene, which is very short, but I think is very important for establishing character dynamics, which is we have Obi-Wan and Anakin in an elevator going up to see everybody in the politics office. And this is where we get approximately 28-year-old Ewan McGregor, and my brain shut off. Everything, the first time that I watched this movie, everything from here on out for the next 5-10 minutes, could not tell you what happened. I had to really lock in to focus. And like I said, this is not a thing that happens to me. I never think that somebody is so pretty that I just don't process the things they say. In this case, I did. And so that was really great. But now we have to focus. We have to be professional. So they're in an elevator.
He was, so just to say, he was 31 when the movie was filmed.
Okay, close. Yeah.
And both Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman were 21.
Excellent.
So, but in character, Obi-Wan is 35, Padme is 24, and Anakin is like 19 or 20.
That all tracks very much with how they act. So,
yeah.
In the elevator, they're bantering. Anakin is really nervous because he hasn't seen Padme in 10 years. Obi-Wan is razzing him about it a little bit.
I haven't felt you this tense since we fell into that nest of gumdogs.
You fell into that nightmare, Master, and I rescued you, remember?
Oh, yes.
And so it's very cute. You really have the parentified older brother / incredibly over it teen dynamic down. But there is a tension between them, and how much of this sass, because Anakin calls Obi-Wan master like every other word, in a way that is so obnoxiously over deferential that you can tell he's just being kind of a shit about it. So how much of this is him just being a teen? How much of it is the seeds of genuine disrespect of Obi-Wan and already being kind of disillusioned with the Jedi system, which I have a lot to say about later. So I think this is a very loaded interaction, and I really, really like it for setting up their characters.
And in the same vein, I have a note on the fact that Obi-Wan continuously, whenever he speaks to Anakin, refers to him as my young Padawan or my young apprentice, or occasionally my very young apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like is Obi-Wan also being a little bit insecure about the fact that he has raised and trained this kid, because he's not even fucking 40.
Yeah.
And, he did not intend to train this kid. And this kid is not that much younger than he is.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you're in high school and you have a teacher who's a new college graduate and they're trying really hard to differentiate themselves from the students. It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah. there's a little bit more of a spread here, but like not a whole lot.
It's not dissimilar.
No, and again, we've mentioned that they were essentially, not that it was for very long, where Qui-Gon was intending to train Anakin while still training Obi-Wan, but they essentially started out as Force siblings, I guess.
Mhm.
And so even though Anakin has trained Obi-Wan, he also
Also, you said Anakin trained Obi-Wan.
it's a day. Obi-Wan trained Anakin. It's very much like he got his PhD and immediately they were like, "Okay, here's 4 grad students. They're yours now. Good luck."
Ooh, now I'm just having more brain thoughts. We are in the first 3 minutes of this movie. We will pick up the pace. But just for the purposes of my queer reading, I'm going to think about queer time and the progression of life milestones in a non-typical way for queer people. I don't have more to say about that yet, but I'm just putting a pin in it in my brain.
Well, there is also, we're going to have to at some point, and we'll get more of this as we get more about Jedi. But yeah, non-traditional life milestones for Jedi too. I mean, because they have their whole growth from youngling to Padawan to knight to master. But that's not necessarily an arc that follows a defined timeline for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are people who never graduate from youngling to Padawan. And there are people who never finish their Padawan training and become knights. Apparently, in canon, there are only 20 people who have ever voluntarily left the Jedi Order. I think that qualifier may be only 20 Jedi Masters who have ever voluntarily left the Order.
Mm-hmm.
Because then also in canon, there are some people who don't pass the tests to become Padawans. And they continue to live and work in the Jedi Temple. They're just not full Jedi. They just have some base force powers and grew up there.
Yeah. But moving on out of the elevator.
Moving on. Yes, sorry.
So we get upstairs to the briefing room. Obi-Wan bows to Padme. Anakin doesn't. Instead, he sidles up to her with the creepiest leer on his face. And
so much.
Very sweetly goes, "Annie, my goodness, how you've grown." And then he goes, "So have you grown more beautiful. I mean, ew, nasty." And then she hits back with the first of what I am referring to as the shutting him down counter, which are the times when she explicitly to his face with her words shuts him down. And she says, "Annie, you'll always be that little boy I knew on Tatooine." Shutting him down counter 1. Ding. So that happens.
I have in my notes here, yeah, there is absolutely no fucking reason these two should fall in love.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to talk more about that as we go on. I've kept a list.
Yeah. No, the only explanation is this is some Renesmee bullshit. This
God,
is some
a destiny.
Yeah, that is the only possible explanation here.
I hate it.
Well, we can keep talking about it, but yeah, that's where we're starting.
Yeah. So we are introduced briefly to Captain Typho, who's just a guy who's there. He's important in the Queen's security service. There's obviously a plot to kill Padme. Why? Question mark. We don't know. Anakin is overzealous about finding out who's behind it and destroying them instead of just protecting Padme, which is their job. Obi-Wan openly chastises him, and everyone is uncomfortable. You know how hard you have to work to make Jar Jar Binks uncomfortable? He does a slow blink and one of those awkward swallows where you kind of see his throat bob. You made Jar Jar Binks uncomfortable in this situation. It's just kind of panning to everyone's awkward looks. It's tense.
They're having a full-ass petulant argument in front of everyone.
Yeah, not very professional.
No.
We cut from there to somebody named Zam, who's a mysterious, shady figure being given a task. We will get back to Zam. Anakin and Obi-Wan have a heart-to-heart on the balcony overlooking the cool city planet at night. Lots of fun city shots in this movie, which I enjoyed. Anakin has been having a lot of stress dreams about his mom, which, timeline-wise, Would this have been around the time that his mom was captured if he's having dreams about her? I don't know how much time goes by in this movie.
That's the thing, is it I think we have to refer here to Fandom Apprentice Rules of Fantasy rule number 3,
Mhm.
which is that, God, I can never get the phrasing right on
It's okay.
this one.
I can do it. Time responds to story, story doesn't respond to time.
Thank
So
you.
the time is wibbly wobbly. It's doing whatever it needs to do for the story to make sense. I am going to choose to believe that he's having stress dreams because he knows that his mom is being captured.
I think that's probably right. I think the wiggle room that we get in here is sort of, how long do we spend not seeing them either in hyperspace or like spending time on Naboo hidden in the lake country.
Mhm.
That's sort of the only possible extra time that we have built in. Otherwise, we're meant to assume that this is like a week, at which point we assume that his mother's been captured for several weeks and that's why he's having the stress dreams.
Yeah.
So, or it's right before, and much like Luke in Empire Strikes Back, he's having prophetic Jedi dreams because Jedi.
Because why not?
So we're back in the apartment, and Anakin rolls from talking about his mother into talking about Padme, and Obi-Wan is like, bro, stop.
There's so much to unpack here. Let's not.
He's doing the very base level of like, stop being fucking horny about the senator. I know you're 20. I know you think primarily with your little head and not your big one, but you're a monk. Stop. Also, she's a politician. Has this incredible line, and it is absolutely criminal that this is quiet in the background. He goes, "It is my experience that senators focus only on pleasing those who fund their campaigns, and they're in no means scared of forgetting the niceties of democracy in order to get those funds." And Anakin goes, "Not another lecture, at least not on the economics of politics." And we're slowly looking at Padme's sleeping form as a droid that Zam has given these creepy fucking worms to. And I love the fact that we have a mysterious client who hires a bounty hunter, who hires another subcontractor bounty hunter, who uses an assassin droid to carry bugs that will kill a senator.
Mhm.
Subcontractor to subcontractor to subcontractor to subcontractor. Also, quick biology moment on these fucking things, which I had the name of what they were pulled up. They're like somewhere between a grub and a scorpion and a millipede. They have like stinger tails, and depending on whether you're looking at Legends continuity or at canon continuity, it's either their bite or their stinger, which is more venomous than the other, and then the other one is just painful. I think it might just be Legends continuity, but in theory, they're like almost vaguely force sensitive and use that to find their prey, which they seek out and just attack. And they can, with sort of low levels of intelligence, avoid security systems. And so they're favorites of assassins, which is why they like hide when R2 half wakes up. And I frankly chose not to read too far into it because I read about as far as that I was going to have a full biology moment and like on how these things could evolve, what's the purpose of them. And I read as far as they're like lightly force sensitive, and went, great, never mind.
Yeah, this sounds like something they're trying way too hard to justify.
But Anakin and Obi-Wan launch themselves into the room when they sense the assassin bugs. Anakin lightsaber leaps onto the bed, cuts through the bugs, and now he's like kneeling over Padme, which that was something.
Yeah.
Wake up and there's a man with a lightsaber kneeling over you. He's like fully almost straddling her. It was honestly with our like creepy eyes that we're looking at this, I was like, that's another level of fucked up. But Obi-Wan goes and leaps through the window at the droid. Anakin goes chasing after Obi-Wan. gets himself a big speeder, is going flying after the droid is trying to knock Obi-Wan off. Obi-Wan eventually gets shot off and falls into the speeder, and Obi-Wan is razzing him about taking so long, and we get a little more of their dynamic, because Anakin's like, oh, master, I couldn't find one with the open top and the features I liked with the right speed, sorry. And Obi-Wan is giving him so much shit, and it's very teen with his driver's license and parent. Obi-Wan is so on edge.
Yeah. This scene is very charming. There's a lot more fun city whizzing by, funky aliens honking their little car horns at them, cool speeder tricks, thrills. 10 out of 10. Perfect scene. I enjoyed it very much. And we know that Obi-Wan Kenobi has tremendous hand strength and dexterity, which, is a trait that we value in our fictional men.
I adore the bit where they stop and Obi-Wan is berating Anakin for losing the bounty hunter. And Anakin just goes, if you'll excuse me, and leaps out the side. Again, big my D&D character energy.
Yeah.
Anakin lands on Zam's speeder and eventually gets her to crash land. And Obi-Wan then flies down their speeder and definitely parks in what is a no parking zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is definitely a no parking zone, and whoever's speeder they stole is going to get an awful fucking parking ticket off of that. And I really hope that there is some kind of recourse for citizens of Coruscant to get reimbursed by the Jedi for whatever bullshit is going down.
There's a mystery series that I really, really love and highly recommend called The Thursday Murder Club. And it's also a Netflix movie, which is very bad. Don't watch the movie. It sucks. Read the books. They're amazing. But it takes place in this luxury retirement community. And there's, gangs, there's organized crime, there's murders, there's all kinds of exciting things. But the most powerful force in this 5-book series is the Cooper's Chase Parking Committee. And they do not miss a fucking beat. There's so many scenes where police cars will get boots on them for parking in the wrong spot. People get harassed. The one thing that everyone in this series is universally afraid of, not the violent coke dealers, not the deranged, grieving criminals who are driven to do heinous acts. No, it's the fucking Cooper's Chase Parking Committee. So I have to imagine that there is a similarly powerful group on Coruscant that is just all about parking, because that has to be so important.
They follow Zam into a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And Obi-Wan sends Anakin off in search of the bounty hunter, and Obi-Wan goes to get a drink. And before we talk about Obi-Wan and his drink, because my favorite, Anakin gives this little hand wave as he goes by a table, and two of the people at the table, a purple Twi'lek and a human in some sort of vaguely military-looking outfit, stand up and look at him like they want to eat him for breakfast. It's giving unicorn hunter couple. And I didn't get the hand wave that Anakin does. It's because he is getting looks from everyone as he walks by.
Huh. I did not notice that.
I noticed that particularly there is a piece where we follow right behind his shoulder, and everyone is turning to look at him. And it's not just fuck, what's a Jedi doing here? There's looks on everyone's face of yeah, I'd tap that. And bro,
is he using the Force?
He again, maybe it's Force charisma. That's an explanation for Padme. But bro, we all knew men like this in college. That man is going to blow his load in 2 minutes with some heavy petting, and he won't give head. Come on.
Yeah.
The only explanation I can think of in this seedy ass bar is that he's immediately getting clocked as Jedi, but this place is vaguely upscale enough to not actually usually be frequented as Jedi. And so people are oh, maybe he's not a Jedi. I have to assume that Jedi porn is a massive subcategory somewhere in the galaxy in this era. And that is what people are clocking him as, is some faux Jedi porn star.
I mean, make your money how you can make it. I need to rewatch this scene more closely now because that is fascinating. The thing that I was focused on as we're going into this scene was something completely different, where they're getting out of the speeder, they're going in, they're bantering. Obi-Wan says, "Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?" "Don't say that, Master. You're the closest thing I have to a father." BRB sobbing because he is the death of him, because he fucking kills him. And also, the closest thing I have to a father reminds me about the stupid fucking Force divine immaculate conception, which makes me mad again, because that's the worst, stupidest, dumbest thing that has ever happened. So it went from sweet and then sad to angry. I'm moving through not the stages of grief, but the stages of something.
Yeah, but the other stages that we go through are the stages of death sticks.
Yes, let's talk about death sticks. My favorite anti-smoking message.
Oh my god. Obi-Wan walks up to the bar, orders a drink, and the guy standing next to him just goes,
"You want to buy some death sticks?"
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
And the sleight of hand that the guy does, because he's holding what is presumably a death stick in his fingers. And when he goes, "I don't want to sell you death sticks," he just like flips it back and it disappears. Incredible. And the facial expressions this dude is making the whole time with his scratchy voice. I had to rewatch this scene like 3 times because the first time I saw it as a kid made me laugh. And still now, pushing whatever age I'm pushing, it still makes me lose my shit. Fucking perfect.
It's delightful. So it turns out that the person they're looking for is some kind of funky, shape-shifting alien, and she is killed by a toxic dart before she can reveal the truth, and they're trying to ask her questions, and everything is very mysterious, but at least the dart is a clue. So Anakin and Obi-Wan present their findings to the Jedi Council. We have a new mission, which is to find the bounty hunter who commissioned Sam to do all of the convoluted other stuff. Anakin is left in charge of Padme, and Obi-Wan tracks down the bounty hunter. Meanwhile, Palpatine is getting his grimy little tentacles into Anakin's mind, like you were talking about, saying how he'll totally grow up to be more powerful than Yoda. He's going to be seriously so great. And then Anakin takes the high from this exchange, and gives Padme a long monologue while she's just trying to pack about how actually Obi-Wan is a great master, but I'm kind of ahead of him in some ways. Actually, I'm even better and cooler than Obi-Wan, and I'm totally ready for the trials because I'm so cool and awesome. And then we get so much of this dialogue is so cringy. But another thing on my list is Padme very patiently listens to this, and then she says, "Anakin, don't try to grow up too fast. But I am grown up," which is the most petulant child thing to say. I'm a grown up. You said it yourself. And then he leers at her again, and she says, "Please don't look at me like that." Why not? It makes me feel uncomfortable. Shutting him down counter, number 2. And when we watched this the first time, you rightly pointed out, this is meant to be her kind of being coy and playing hard to get. I'm uncomfortable because I don't want to confront how much I am in love with you or something. But watching it with our eyes and brains in the year 2026, she is stone cold, staring him in the eye, saying, "Don't do that. It makes me uncomfortable." It doesn't get more explicit than that.
Yeah, and the way that Hayden Christensen plays this is as fucking creepy.
And I don't think that my hatred of Anakin is Hayden Christensen's fault. I think that he does embody the character the way that he's written. The way that he's written just sucks. And I think you could play him as sweeter, more sympathetic, more charismatic, maybe, but the text isn't giving you a lot, and it does work for knowing this character is going to become this big ultimate villain.
Right. There are lines throughout their quote-unquote courtship. I was like, this, with different context, could be lines picked direct from a dark romance novel.
Mhm.
But because of the way that the lines are said and the context surrounding them and the way that Padme replies to them, this is not dark romance, this is creepy.
Yeah. So after this, she's packed. She has never once dressed subtly in her life. She's wearing this
No.
elaborate bronze headdress. And oh my God, what's his name? Windu tells them to try to be subtle, not travel on any official transports, pretend to be refugees, fly under the radar because we're not trying to get assassinated. And so she is dressing in the most flamboyant outfit ever. And Anakin throws a ratty poncho over his Padawan robes and calls it a day. But they have a very simple mission, which is go to Naboo and lie low. I don't know what their version of lying low is, but it's not low.
No, well, and I have to bring in from another Star Wars podcast that I listen to. This is the Dark Side Divas podcast. They refer to the Jedi poncho of disguise. Because this will become a thing of Jedi just like, yes, I wear a poncho now. You cannot possibly tell I'm a Jedi.
I like the Jedi poncho of disguise. This is good. This is very good.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to pull bits from other Star Wars podcasts that I listen to because I don't want to steal all of their thoughts. People have wonderful other Star Wars discussions out there, but that one's good.
So while they are wearing their disguises for a given value of disguise, Obi-Wan goes to a space diner and visits his friend Dex for information about this poison dart. This is another just wonderful, charming scene. It's a retro diner in space. There's a droid waitress who gives Obi-Wan Jawa juice. It's so cute. I love seeing him having friends, that Dex is just his buddy. And Obi-Wan just has a life outside of being a Jedi, which you're not supposed to have, but whatever. He has friends, and I like it. And we find out that the poison dart is from a planet called Kamino, so that's our next stop.
Well, and I love the voices in here. I love the fairy diner waitress voice that the droid does.
Someone to see you, honey. Jedi by the looks of him.
Dexter Jetster. Dex's diner. Apparently they encounter each other in a canon novel that takes place prior to all of this. But Obi-Wan asks Dex about the Kaminoans and asks, what to expect. And Dex goes,
On how good your manners are, how big your pocketbook is.
And I was like, that's an innuendo.
That's a loaded pause. I don't really, and having seen the facility and what's going on and the people, I cannot imagine anything sexual possibly taking place. So I have no idea what this innuendo is meant to imply. And I fancy myself pretty creative. I got fucking nothing.
No, I'm like, do they gotta contribute to the cloning facilities? They want a donation?
I'm just imagining, when you go into a church and there's the donation box right by the door. You just kind of and then walk inside. Just a little 1, 2, and then and then you could have at the bank when there's those pneumatic tubes that take the stuff from the ATM, it goes up into a tube. And then maybe you can have sort of a Willy Wonka style machine. And then a bunch of aliens come out and they sing a little song about it. This
Emphasis
is my
on Willy.
rewrite of Star Wars. This is fucking great. Damn, I should have bought, when I was at the thrift store buying the titty pants, there was also this vintage brooch that I think was maybe supposed to be flowers, that had just sort of a round oval kind of ovoid egg shape, and then long stem, but it just looked like it was two little sperms racing to an egg. And if I had that, I could have worn it for my job as the tour guide at the Kamino cloning facility. Oh, this is good stuff.
Oh boy.
But before we get there,
Please.
So Obi-Wan goes to the Jedi archives to look up this mysterious planet Kamino, but it's nowhere to be found in the archives. So he goes to ask Yoda about it, who is in the middle of class teaching a bunch of younglings, putting aside for a moment that they are child soldiers and the Jedi Institution is horrifying. It's extremely cute. It's really, really cute. I didn't notice the first time that they actually have tiny lightsabers because they're doing lightsaber training, you know, like Luke did in the first movie with the ball, you know, trying to trace it with their eyes closed. And so their heads are covered by these silly helmets and they've got lightsabers. But I didn't realize that they're tiny lightsabers. They're small.
Well, and in canon too, they're practice lightsabers, so they don't like cut anything.
Aww.
They're just sort of to train you in use of a lightsaber. And technically, they're not yet child soldiers. They're like the sort of child soldier thing will not become sort of formally established until the end of this movie, when the Clone War begins.
Fair.
Prior to this, it's sort of like we try not to send Padawans, you know, and these are younglings, so they're not even going out on Padawan missions, into serious danger. Right? You know, we're keepers of peace and justice, and that's our primary goal. And sometimes we have to use a lightsaber, but we use lightsabers instead of blasters because you have to be very accurate and you have to be very specific, and it takes a lot of training. And so, you know, it's also a spiritual practice at the end of the day. Like it's kung fu.
Yeah. And so teaching this, you know, sort of mindful spiritual practice, we have Yoda being an excellent teacher. He's very patient with the kids. They obviously like him. He has a really good sense of humor because Obi-Wan comes in and tells him the situation. And then Yoda goes, I'm not going to do a Yoda voice. Sorry, everyone. But he goes, lost a planet, Master Obi-Wan has. How embarrassing. And then all the kids giggle. That's funny. That's a really good joke.
So
He's
cute.
not taking himself too seriously. It's great. And this is so different from the feral Yoda living in a hole that we get terrorizing Luke. And it could not be more different. And now I kind of understand what you were saying about, you know, he hasn't seen anyone in 20 years or however long it's been. And I was not very impressed by that amount of time because I was thinking, okay, you know, he lives fucking forever. He should be more normal. No, I think maybe Yoda's been through a lot, and seeing him just be normal and be a good teacher and be with the younglings is funny and gives him depth, but is also sad.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they find out the situation, which is that the planet information has been deleted. And so Yoda gives some wisdom and whatever. Mostly the point is that the younglings are cute.
They're adorable. It's fantastic.
They're so fucking cute. Isn't one of them, or at least one of them, the kid of somebody?
I think one of the either younglings or Padawans we see in the background of the archives is George Lucas's son.
Yes, it's in the archives. Yeah, I remember you pointed that out. Back on Naboo, there's some kind of government council meeting. We meet the new queen, whose name I forget. Do you remember her name? I think it starts with an L.
I thought it was Jamila.
Or it might be a J. Similar shape letters if they're lowercase. Jamila, something like that. She seems nice. She obviously admires Padme. They seem to have a good relationship. She's the one who asked Padme to serve as a senator. And during the meeting, she's looking to her a lot for sort of approval or significant eye contact. They're exchanging a lot of glances. It's very sweet. I think they probably have a nice mentor-mentee relationship, even though one of them's the queen now and one of them's not. It was just nice. And so at the end of this big conversation about the situation, somebody goes, what is your suggestion, Master Jedi? And then Padme devastating. Oh, Anakin is not a Jedi yet. He's still a Padawan learner. Get his ass. Because it's true and it's information that people should know. But it's in just the most, he still wears pull-ups to sleep at night. Just the most embarrassing thing she could have possibly said.
Well, and he does not respond well.
No, he doesn't.
He gets very, very petulant and has to like reestablish that he's in charge of security here, my lady.
Yeah, so he's just childish.
Red flags, man.
But green flags. Great person, Obi-Wan. He gets to Kamino.
Yes.
It's raining. He gets out of his ship, and he's all soaking wet in the rain. His big broody robes. Oh, I just want to like shake him like a dog with a dog toy. Just like get him. Love him. So he goes up to this cool, mysterious building. Apparently, the Prime Minister, Lama Su, is expecting him. And because Obi-Wan is good at improvising, he yes-ands the situation so hard and just rolls with it. And so we learn a lot of information that the Kaminoans are growing an army for the Republic. Remembering that opening scroll where they were talking about an army for the Republic. Here's the army. Apparently, Jedi Master Sifo Dyas commissioned it, but Sifo Dyas was killed about 10 years ago. So it's just been kind of going on in the background since then. It takes time to grow clones, I guess.
And in real time, it'll be another I think it's close to 15 years before we actually learn anything else about Sifo Dyas.
Yeah, he's a very mysterious figure. But I'm very patient.
I did look this up, and the one piece is originally it was supposed to be Sifo Dyas, and it's meant to be Sidious.
Oh. Why wasn't it that then?
Because somebody misspelled it as Sifo Dyas, and they went, yeah, sure, and just ran with it.
And so now there's just
and
a
nobody
guy.
thought to explain it, as opposed to having it be that, yes, the Dark Lord of the Sith came up with this. And so instead they were like, yeah, there absolutely was a Jedi named Sifo Dyas.
That would have made so much more sense.
Yep.
Whatever.
George Lucas doesn't write great stories. He writes really incredible worlds. But just on his own, left to his own devices, the story isn't necessarily always the best.
Speaking of story points that are not the best, an iconic scene with an even more iconic dress. We cut to Anakin and Padme on the lake. She is stunning. She is so beautiful. There is a reason that every cosplayer wants to make this dress. It's amazing. And I was going to say I would enjoy watching it with no sound just to watch the dress, but that's actually not true because we have to see Anakin's face and body and we have to watch them kiss. So maybe not. But very pretty, very beautiful location. But this is also where we get the I hate sand thing. And I knew that I hate sand was going to happen. And I knew it was going to be cringy. But the part that I didn't know about was after the I hate sand, it's rough and it gets everywhere. He says something like, here, everything is soft, while staring at her tits. I wish I could take a screenshot, but Disney Plus does not allow this and it just blacks out your screen. And apparently this is irresistible. And they kiss. And there's this big, rising, romantic, epic music that's playing. And then they break apart and Padme says, no. And then the music cuts for a second. And I thought that was very funny. And then it picks up again. But what do you have to say about this scene? Because I just have screaming and violence.
I love the love music that just cuts really suddenly as she pulls away. That's so good. I mostly have more to talk about on when we go back to Obi-Wan, because the music that plays when Obi-Wan looks out over the clones, it's not the Imperial March, but it is very strongly Imperial, and I'll find the exact title of this piece.
Magnificent, aren't they?
The motifs are used in other sorts of like imperial suites and other pieces of imperial like leitmotifs.
Mhm.
Because when we see the armor, what do we see, bestie?
So this is, I think, not. Do we see the armor right away, or is that not shown until a little later? I think that that's a reveal
It's not
that's
shown like
saved for.
instant. It's not shown instantly, but like we learn about sort of, we see young clones and then adult clones out of armor, and then we see them at a distance as they're sort of all lined up, and then we see clones.
Yeah, we get the build up as there's the slow sort of existential horror of what is being done to these clones, and the chipper Kaminoans saying, "Oh yeah, we make them extra docile and obedient, and they're so great, they're going to be awesome." But then Obi-Wan is looking out over the assembled soldiers in their armor, and we realize that this is who will eventually become the stormtroopers, which is just a fucking punch to the gut.
The Jedi made the stormtroopers.
As a person who doesn't know things about Star Wars, because that's our whole shtick, are all stormtroopers clones? I'm inclined to say eventually no. But they all start out as clones.
Stormtroopers are, the clones form the template for the Stormtrooper Corps. There is actually multiple arcs of multiple shows that show sort of how the clones are replaced by stormtroopers eventually. Because ultimately, as we're going to learn as we watch Clone Wars, the clones are soldiers of the Republic, which means that while they transition with the Republic to become part of the Empire, they can never fully be part of the Empire, because they were created for the sole purpose of being the army of the Republic. They have no other purpose. And that's going to give us a lot to talk about over the next several episodes on sort of choice and being, and do you fulfill the purpose you were created for? We can harken back to some of our Murderbot discussions on some of that. I think a lot of those themes also apply to the clones.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, but we're going to learn a lot more about sort of how that all goes down, and sort of, I think Dave Filoni in particular, who is now, I don't know whether he's in charge of story at Lucasfilm. I don't know his exact title now, but he is responsible for large swaths of story now and executive production. Point is, Dave Filoni really likes that like interwar period between the Clone Wars and the Rebellion. That rise of fascism, takeover of the Empire. And so he's done a lot in there with Clone Wars and Rebels, and then Tony Gilroy with Andor, and then the new Maul show. Like, that's all within that era. And so we're going to have a lot to discuss with all of that. I'm very, very excited.
Yeah.
But yes, but the point is, and we can talk a little bit more about this towards the end, so with some of the visuals we get in the final battle, the visual through lines to the Empire are being drawn here. We are in the beginning of the end, and we can see it coming because we know what happens. And eventually, hindsight, all of the Jedi will be able to see it coming, but not now.
Yeah. There is a brief cut. Padme and Anakin have a picnic. Who cares? Back to the clones. Obi-Wan suspects that this mysterious Jango Fett, who is the donor for all of these clones, is the bounty hunter that he's been looking for. And he's right. And so he goes to visit him, And Jango Fett very subtly indicates to his son, a young upstart named Boba Fett, who I'm sure we'll never see again in the future, to close a door that's hiding his armor. And then we see the armor. It's the same armor from before. This confirms that he is the bounty hunter. And as soon as Obi-Wan leaves, Jango Fett knows that they've been had and tells his son to pack.
The side eye that Boba gives Obi-Wan is so good. It's such a who the fuck is this guy look from like it's very tween. I love it so much.
He's very cute. And also, how many people has he ever met in his life? Probably not very many.
No, I mean every like most of the humans on this world, or all of the humans on this world, are other clones and his father.
Yeah.
And Jango's
Always a pleasure to meet a Jedi.
the barely contained scorn in there. And knowing what we do about Jango is a special case, but knowing what we do about how Mandalorians in general feel about Jedi, this is just layers and they're spicy. But we flash back to dinner.
Yes.
Because Padme is wearing this one dress at the dinner table with like understated diadem and the jeweled posture collar. But the dress is not the same as the dress we see later.
I think what I think, and this may be wrong, but this is what I think based on just her accessories and the continuity. I think it is the same dress. I think that she has a big, stunning feather cape thing that she's wearing.
Okay.
And it's made of these iridescent kind of like grackle feathers almost. And it's so this big covering over her chest and shoulders. But it's still the same necklace that's kind of cascading down. And later, she's wearing the same necklace. And I think it's the same. The dress might be the same dress that was underneath. She is just now also wearing the gloves.
Yeah.
Because I don't see why she would have changed into a different dress but kept the same accessories.
Yeah, see that's the question is like because the jewels of the I can only call it a posture collar.
It's okay. I call this out the outfit in the next scene the dominatrix dress. So
I was like, because like it flows over like the neckline of the first dress in such a way that like it looks like a different dress and not just like a cape. I spent a good time like staring at it and hoped that you would have commentary that would save me from potentially thinking she changed after dinner into latex and heaving tits.
Wait, no, I think it is the same because I now have the movie open in another tab and she is wearing the gloves. She is wearing the gloves and the bottom part looks the same. And so the cape thing, it's actually not a cape. I was wrong because I wasn't looking at it. It's sort of an off the shoulder sort of shawl thing. I know that I'm a knitter. I should have a better word for what this garment is, but it's sort of an additional layer that is just sort of like a tube that goes over from right around armpit level to elbow, sort of a wrap. And that is made of feathers. And she is wearing the gloves, but they're like fingerless, handless, something gloves. So this all indicates to me that this is the same outfit. She just took off the feather thing after dinner.
Okay, yeah, I guess when they're sitting in front of the fire and it's warmer.
Yeah, and because when it zooms out at the dinner scene, you can see her whole body in profile at the table, and you can see the bottom of the dress, and it looks like the same dress.
Okay, thank you. I had to ask. The animated fruit is something else.
Do you want to tell the people what the animated fruit is in case they have not seen the movie or have forgotten?
Anakin levitates an animated pear. It's just a pear on a plate over to his plate, cuts it in half in the weirdest way, in what I can only describe as the fruit equivalent of just biting into a Kit Kat without breaking it apart.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I think I can describe this. It's like cuts into it so there's the narrow top and the broad bottom. of the pear, not lengthwise. So you have 2 equal halves of pear.
He's cutting it the hamburger way.
Yeah. We're Americans, yes. And then floats one half of the pear over to Padme to, when she spears it with her fork, it definitely changes shape to just be a slice of pear instead of a whole half of pear. And that was a choice. I guess we couldn't possibly have done any sort of practical, like, wire effect, maybe? I don't know. I just go here.
Now I am actually going to I'm going to double down on it should have been a pear slice on a string, because as we know, you can make food and feeding very erotic. That can be a very sensual experience. And I think if we had her actually biting into a real pear, that could have done so much to actually be a romantic, flirtatious moment. But without the practical effects, there's no sensuality there because there's literally no sensory experience happening. And again, this is envisioning a world in which these two have chemistry, which I will yell about soon. But just in my rewrite, we have practical pairs only.
Getting to the dominatrix dress.
Can I talk about the dominatrix dress?
And the scene around the dominatrix. Yeah, please talk about the dominatrix dress, my love.
So, she has this cool feather thing, which, despite the confusion about it, I think is a really beautiful costume piece. I admire this costume. I think it's great.
It's gorgeous.
And I love that she has, like those of us who enjoyed What Not to Wear in the early 2000s, she can go from day to night. I, in my adult life, have only ever had to take an outfit from day to night a couple of times. And when I've done it, it's been very exciting. And I've turned to Miles and go, oh my God, I took an outfit from day to night. I did it. Kelly and Clinton would be so proud.
You will post about this every time in our group chat. It's great.
I didn't realize I did that every time. Sorry.
It's been like twice. It's great.
It doesn't happen a lot. But so she takes this outfit from day to night. And so she has ditched the demure feather cape and is in what I affectionately refer to as the dominatrix dress. She's still got the posture collared necklace, which really emphasizes her overflowing bosom. Natalie Portman is not possessed of an extremely large bosom, but they really make it work with this corset bodice that is cinched in, shoving the girls up so high. She has these long gloves on that she was wearing at dinner, but I somehow didn't notice before, up to her biceps, this long ponytail in this room just swathed in red velvet and lit by a single roaring fire, which is exactly the setup in which to break things off with Anakin. Girl, you have created the most sexual environment possible. So they're here in this setting, and he gives this speech, which he clearly thinks is romantic and poetic.
This is where I was talking about, like, the dark romance lines.
Yeah.
These lines would not be out of place in some of the romance books that you and I have read.
Oh, absolutely. Delivered by a character with charisma, or characters who have any kind of relationship to one another that could be sexy, it could work.
And not in a petulant tone of voice. He's still doing the, like, petulant teen voice.
Yeah, it sounds like it's things that are just directly ripped from his diary. And this maybe also is another little Jedi gender moment now that I'm thinking about it, because I had mentioned last time I was trying to think about, okay, how are we constructing gender in this universe? What does masculinity look like here? What does femininity look like here? I think that, and it's possible that, just different beauty standards of the early 2000s, different expectations, what a young audience might find hot. I think that if I was a young Anakin Skywalker, I would be like pitching my voice down a little bit in an effort to seem like a little tougher, more masculine. I would be trying to put on kind of a more mature persona. And despite all of his insistences that he is this serious, capable adult, everything he does just makes him seem more childlike.
Yeah.
That's like an interesting thing, just thinking about that. But that does not do anything to sway Padme, at least at first, because he does this big speech. She says, "We can't. It's just not possible." Shutting him down, counter number 3. He says some more shit. He's telling her to listen. And then she says, "No, you listen. We live in a real world. Come back to it. You're studying to become a Jedi. I'm a senator. If you follow your thoughts through to conclusion, it'll take us to a place we cannot go, regardless of the way we feel about each other." Which I do count as shutting him down, counter number 4, because even though she is admitting that she has feelings for him, she is still shutting him down. And "we live in a real world, come back to it," chef's kiss, amazing line. And this back and forth kind of continues for a bit, and she insists that she would not be able to live in secrecy, that they would never be able to be open about their relationship. And she's saying, "Is that what you would really want? Because I don't think I could live like that." And it ends on this kind of unresolved note, but clearly we're leaning towards they can't deny their feelings for each other. They're probably going to fuck in this red velvet room.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And as you have probably accurately predicted, we know how that's going to go. It's how Luke and Leia were conceived, most certainly.
Not here, because there's 3+ more years before the Empire rises up.
Well, just in that fashion, that the 2 minutes of heavy petting and then, that this was not a great experience.
No,
I don't think that Anakin Skywalker is a generous lover, is what I'm saying. Not that this is the moment when they were conceived, but it is the fashion in which it probably happened.
Yeah.
She's used to exploring each other's bodies with her fucking handmaidens. She's not prepared for Anakin Skywalker.
Nah, see, there's so much you can do with the Force in bed, and Anakin has not figured out shit.
I would not trust Anakin to do anything with the Force in bed. People are always saying you shouldn't fuck around with hardcore kinks. You shouldn't fuck around with anything, really. But especially things that could be literally dangerous with someone that you do not trust. Don't let Anakin Skywalker near you for any reason.
Anakin has a nightmare about his mom. Just to really fuck the mood. And Pad's like, "I don't have a choice. I have to go find her." Land on Tatooine, and Watto tells Anakin that he sold Shmi to Klieg Lars, a moisture farmer, who freed Shmi and married her.
How romantic.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no.
Well, that was sarcastic.
No, there's a power balance there, which is fucked up. And then there's also well, I care about you and I have the means to get you out of this terrible system, so I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know enough about their story to make a determination one way or another. But Klieg tells Anakin that Shmi was abducted by Tusken Raiders in the early morning as she was checking on the moisture vaporators, vapor, whatever.
She was picking mushrooms that grow on them.
Yes.
She was out for her daily foraging because she was a cottagecore girly, even in the barren wastes.
In the Tunisian deserts, because they filmed this on location in Tunisia.
Very nice.
But the rescue party was unable to rescue her, and apparently most of them were killed. And Klieg lost a leg. They've now given up hope, and Anakin goes out to look for his mother, and the color symbolism, because Star Wars plays very heavily with color symbolism, and so the orange fading to red, fading to black as he's going through the setting suns to go find his mother, as the Duel of the Fates is playing in the background. We know before we ever see Shmi, before we ever see the aftermath of all of that, that this is another time where the light side has lost the Duel of the Fates for Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
he lost this battle before he ever set foot on Tatooine. Did skip the fight between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett. It's very cool. That's really all I have to say on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of big fights in this movie where the only thing I wrote was, it's a really cool fight, because it's just a really cool fight, and I don't know enough about fight choreography to break it down in a meaningful way. But it's cool. There's a lot of good fights, which more or less kept my attention, which, is a pretty decent rating for a fight.
That's
Anakin does
a very good rating from you.
Anakin does find his mom, and the state that she is in is truly horrifying. It is honestly very graphic. And I can understand why finding her like that and not being able to save her would maybe tip him over into a homicidal rage. Yoda senses Qui-Gon somehow in the Force saying, Anakin, no, as we cut away from the horrors that he inflicts on the Tusken Raiders. So we only get sort of the ripples and aftershocks through the Force.
I wish this was a better written scene.
What would you change?
I would change the fact that Shmi Skywalker isn't a character. She's just a piece of scenery, and she gets shoved into a fridge to advance Anakin's character. So there's that for starters. We have no connection, emotionally or otherwise, to Shmi. We don't care that she's dead. We understand, I guess, why Anakin cares, but again, we haven't seen any sort of development or loss of this relationship, really. Also, just the general racism pieces of, surrounding the Tusken Raiders. They are sort of the savage foreign native peoples who live out in the desert, and they kidnap people and keep them solely for the purposes of torture for 30 days. That's it. Why is she still alive after an entire month? And I know, Klieg Lars did not think that she would still be alive. The only reason she's still alive after this whole time is so she can die in Anakin's arms.
Mm-hmm.
While being too weak to say you at the end of I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, he understandably flies into a homicidal rage, and it's fucked up, and we're meant to see it's fucked up. But I feel like the only reason that nobody else gets up in arms about it is because they're Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
And we've presented them up to this point as they say, mindless animals.
Yeah, because he brings his mom's body back, and, he's glaring at everyone, and with the implied, fuck you, you should have tried harder to rescue her, because I could have done it if I was here earlier, but whatever. So he brings her back, they are trying to process what happened, and he tells Padme, when she comes to try and comfort him, that he slaughtered everyone in the Raider camp, not just the ones who captured his mom, but including women and children. And he just fucking went apeshit. And his goal is to be all powerful, and he has obviously just completely lost it at this point. But I can't really think of any other group of people where if you say, hey, I killed a bunch of women and children, people would just go, okay, that seems fine. But it's like you said, it's because they're Tusken Raiders. Nobody cares about them because they're an entirely expendable race for the purposes of the story. And so it's only fucked up enough to see that he's turning to evil, but there's no further thought or care for all of these people whose lives he's just ended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if he tells necessarily everybody else that he slaughtered the entire camp of Tusken Raiders, or if that's sort of vaguely implied and everyone kind of figures it out, or if it's he just tells Padme, and Padme, noted diplomat and person able to see the, I don't want to say humanity in a universe where there are a lot of people that are not humans, but the personhood and decency of everyone around her. and like enter every situation with a I'm going in and searching for a diplomatic solution. And she just goes like, yeah, anger's normal. It's fine. And I get the other explanation there is her being like, holy shit, this guy's dangerous. I need to wait for a good time so I can get the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
But then she never does any of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to like blame Padme's actions because
I have more to say, but maybe we can put a pin in bigger thoughts about Padme because we're so close to the end of the plot.
this is
And
true.
I do think that she has a lot going on, and I want to give her her proper time. So there's a big chase through an asteroid field. Obi-Wan discovers a secret factory building battle droids. Count Dooku is there. At this point, when he is introduced, do we know that that's who he is? I'm not sure if they address him by name at this point or if it's just, oh, here's another mysterious guy.
I think he enters and Obi-Wan calls him Dooku.
Okay. So that discovery is made back on Coruscant. The secret of the clone army is out because Obi-Wan has sent a message back. And the only way to get the Senate to approve using the clone army is to vote for the Chancellor, Palpatine, to have emergency powers to authorize it. And Padme would be the perfect person to propose this radical amendment, but she's not there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Obi-Wan.
It's the reason that Palpatine says, if only Senator Amidala were here to propose this amendment, is to convince Jar Jar to do it in her place because he is serving as sort of her substitute.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because she never would. The whole reason she was coming back to Coruscant in the first place was to vote against the creation of an army.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of skated over and we don't really touch on it. But like that was her whole thing. Like she is an anti-war senator.
Yeah.
And has on multiple occasions talked about her pro-democracy stances. She would never vote to give dictatorial powers to Sheev Palpatine. But if he goes, oh, this is what Padme would do, Jar Jar will do that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
This is a rise of fascism piece that's drawn from the real world.
Mm-hmm.
The Chancellor gaining emergency powers is how Hitler rose to power. We'll just leave that one and move on.
Yep. Draw your own conclusions. The conclusions are drawn pretty clearly.
Uh-huh.
But after that, Count Dooku has Obi-Wan in this silly rotisserie chicken torture device, and we learn that Qui-Gon used to be his apprentice. Dooku breaks the news that the Dark Lord of the Sith is running the Senate, not revealing that he is also in league with him, though we can maybe guess that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Padme and Anakin make it to the droid factory. There's an extremely fun sequence of them dodging machines on the assembly line and almost getting hot lava poured in them and getting hands almost chopped off. There's funny bits from C-3PO and R2, who I don't think we mentioned. C-3PO was there on Tatooine, so we're reunited.
Yay. Which does bring up a point of in A New Hope when Uncle Owen goes to buy droids and 3PO introduces himself as C-3PO. Owen knows who that dude is.
Yeah, why didn't he recognize him?
I mean, well, granted, he's much shinier and all polished up in A New Hope, but like introduces himself with the same designation, same voice, same annoying, smarmy manner, and you best bet that Owen is like, oh, this fucker. Huh. And for all that he has done to try and keep whatever this world of Anakin's is away from Luke, then it's a little bit inconceivable to me now with this continuity that he would then choose to bring 3PO and R2 onto the farm.
Yeah, that is an excellent point.
Anyway, this is just the issues of developing pieces of a story 20 years apart.
Yeah. So Padme and Anakin get captured on the assembly line and taken to this big arena coliseum type place. And Padme chooses this moment before they're sent out to confess her love to Anakin. Ew. And Obi-Wan is also there.
Yeah. I've been dying a little bit every day since you came back into my life is not a romantic line.
No.
No, but that is the line that she says before they kiss as they're brought out to their execution in full view of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who now is going to have to deal with that later.
Yeah. I don't envy him having to navigate that social situation.
There's all of these animals that they release to kill them. Padme has squirreled away what I assume is a hairpin in her mouth that she uses to pick herself free and climb on top of the column that she was chained to. And I was going to have a biology moment about these three creatures. I'm not. The big praying mantis thing is called an accolade. The big sort of rhino-y thing is called a reek. And the cat thing is called a nexu. And apparently was known by the ILM animators as Bad Kitty.
Oh, Bad Kitty.
And Bad Kitty just perfectly, sexily rips Padme's top with a single slash to the back, leaving her with a sexy scar and now a bare midriff top. Which, like, as a feminist, I'm outraged. As a lesbian, I'm delighted to use that old line. And this is the start of a number of, like, situational puns that we're going to get through this scene, where Anakin is like, what do we do? You know, what about Padme? And this is while in the background, Padme is picking her handcuffs and climbing on top of the column. And Obi-Wan goes, she seems to be on top of things. First pun. There will be more, mostly said by 3PO.
Yeah.
Anakin manages to get on the back of the reek. He has to be using, like, the Force to calm it down and stop it charging, and then vaults onto its back. And now he is riding a giant space rhinoceros. And Padme jumps on the reek behind Anakin from the top of her column, which is easily a 20-foot jump to the reek, and just lands full astride the space rhinoceros behind Anakin and kisses him. But may I just say, ow.
Yeah, I was also thinking that.
That would bruise in places we don't want to bruise, except purposefully in fun with prior knowledge and consent. That's a 15-foot jump onto a bumpy rhino creature.
Yeah.
Ow. But then Obi-Wan jumps up behind Padme, and did you see the way she touched his thigh?
No, I feel like I need to rewatch that, maybe just for, to watch his thigh get touched for normal reasons.
Yeah, he jumps up, she turns back, and, like, runs her hand a bit down his thigh to his knee.
Ah! Shoot your shot. If you think you're about to die in the Coliseum and you have a chance to touch a young Ewan McGregor, I mean, obviously consent is still important in any situation, but, I can't blame her.
Uh-huh. But of course, as this is all going to shit, and clearly they're about to send down battle droids or Jango Fett to kill them, Mace Windu shows up and puts his amazing purple lightsaber at the neck of the greatest threat, being Jango Fett. So he looked around, right? And there is Poggle the Lesser, who is a Geonosian, like, old man Geonosian. There are two politician bureaucrat Nemoidians. There is Dooku, and Windu knows Dooku. Dooku was a Jedi. He knows that Dooku's a yapper. He doesn't know that Dooku's Sith yet, but he knows that Dooku's going to have several words before fighting. But the Mandalorian, on the other hand, ancient enemies of the Jedi and known assassin? Nah, that is where you want your lightsaber instantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then as all of the lightsabers start, they really told every Jedi extra, okay, now strike a pose.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, your lightsaber's going to turn on, and I just want you to just Vogue, look like a badass.
And they do, and it's awesome.
And they do. It's great. And while that's happening, there's a bunch of Geonosians running in the background, like running out of the arena, and all of them are running with little T-Rex hands, and it's the same animation over and over and over again, rotated a little bit. It's very funny. But we're not paying attention to that because we're paying attention to the Jedi. But I'm paying attention to that because I'm me.
As you should. This is why we're here.
Uh-huh.
So this big showdown happens. The Jedi are vastly outnumbered. Dooku does a big evil speech, and he's about to slaughter our remaining guys. But then the clone army arrives and saves the day. And as our guys are being swept away in the wreckage of the arena, you have poor little Boba Fett, having seen his father decapitated in front of him, holding up his helmet. He's kneeling in the dirt, holding the helmet, putting it up to his forehead. Oh my gosh, this kid is gonna grow up damaged. This is a lot. It's very sad.
Well, and he's already very clearly very bloodthirsty, that we've seen throughout the movie. Like he clearly is being raised by somebody who has no problems with violence and is raising his son in violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so you add in this is not going to create a healthy base for Boba to grow from.
And I do like that we take that little beat after this victory, and sort of mirroring what Yoda's going to say later about, this was not a victory. This is a horrible thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Our heroes are being swept away to go save the day, but you're leaving behind this kid who now has to literally pick up the pieces and try to figure out how to move on. And there's that sort of tragedy and the damage caused by war and all that stuff. I like that. I thought that was very well done. But
just a couple other things before we leave the arena.
Mm-hmm.
When Obi-Wan kills the acolyte, his hair looks incredible, and he's huffing and puffing a little bit, and he does this little lightsaber spin and then drives the lightsaber into the acolyte, and sir, you want to stick that saber in me too? You want me to call you Master Kenobi? Because that can be arranged.
Google lightsaber handle tilt.
There was an edit I saw.
Got it.
Oh, it definitely exists. There was an edit I saw the other day on Tumblr by at AQ2003 of just, it was like a fan cam of like Obi-Wan from the prequels, various Star Wars animation from Clone Wars to Rebels to Galaxy of Heroes to the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, all set to the bluegrass rework by Hugo of Jay-Z's 99 Problems.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so much of the little sword flip and the little sweep back the hair. And I've done martial arts. I've done a fair amount of martial arts, in fact. And the little sword flip is so much fun to do. Like doing that with a katana, just kind of rolling it around, is so much fun.
You're going to have to show me that at some point. Get like a broom handle or something and just like...
Yeah, you have anything sort of sufficiently long with that sufficient like weight distribution, you can do that little flip. It's a lot of fun to do. And then 3PO the whole time was fucking great. Just one point, because 3PO during this whole thing, at one point, 3PO's head is attached to a battle droid body, and there is a battle droid head attached to 3PO's body. And so 3PO, with the head on the battle droid body is pulling the trigger, and 3PO at one point goes, "Die, Jedi dogs!" Wait, why did I say that? And then falls down and goes, "Excuse me, I'm trapped. I can't get up." And then the clones show up, and again, I love battle droids. It goes, "Uh-oh." The one next to it goes, "Roger, Roger." And then they die. And then we get more puns from 3PO, because R2 shows up and takes 3PO's head and drags it off with a little magnet. And 3PO goes, "Now where are you taking me? Oh, this is such a drag." And then gets dragged, and now it's next to his body, and goes, "Oh, I'm quite beside myself." Wonderful. Nicely done. Then the other thing that, the other line that got me for some reason was Yoda, "Around the survivors, a perimeter create." is just funny for some reason. But the designers here are dropping all the hints because the little gun turrets on the side of the clone gunships, do you notice they're big sustained blasts in green, but the straight line forms out of a laser pyramid that forms in a little dish, like the Death Star.
I did not notice that. I did notice later when we explicitly get the plans for the Death Star that need to be hidden.
Yes.
But yeah, that it's the same kind of technology. I did not clock that.
Yeah. I also noticed there was like a really deeply weird like music cut at one point when the gunships are rising up and then we flash to 3PO and R2. It's very, very abrupt. And I didn't really identify, like, I listened to it 4 or 5 times, and there's also the sound of the starships over it, and there's like laser fire, and so it's hard to listen for, is there like a fade? But it feels almost as if somebody hit pause on one CD and play on another without a fade. It was very jarring. And then we go to a larger battle scene. We get a straightforward line from Yoda at one point with "concentrate all your fire on the nearest starship." And then at one point, all the clones are charging into the fray, firing from the hip, which is not how you handle a gun. And also, there was a whole Mythbusters episode about it, about how it is less accurate in every situation. And the only explanation I have for that is that there could be like a HUD in their helmets.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. And then they're chasing Dooku because Dooku is escaping on a little speeder to get to his hangar, and Anakin goes, "Shoot him down." The clone goes, "We're out of rockets." Are we out of lasers? Are we out of those too? Whoops.
Not real thinkers, those clones.
Well, but the whole point in using clones was they can think creatively. All right, whatever. Well, we can't shoot him down because we have to have our lightsaber battle.
Clearly. And speaking of, Padme falls out of the ship as they're traveling. Anakin wants to rescue her, but Obi-Wan tells him that he will be expelled from the Jedi Order if he does, because he is trying to fight a war right now. Anakin just barely comes out on the side of duty, goes to face Dooku, who can use Force Lightning, apparently. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's big epic battle. First, Obi-Wan goes to go fight him, and then Anakin saves him, and Anakin gets to use 2 lightsabers at the same time. It's amazing. It's a great fight. Anakin does lose a hand, which sucks for him. Yoda shows up. He's a badass. Dooku gets away. There's so much happening, just seeing everyone's different fighting styles, seeing everyone relate to each other. I love any type of dynamic where a student or a former student gets cocky and then their old master pulls out some trick that they haven't seen yet and goes, "You still have a lot to learn." I love that. I eat that shit up every time. There's so much happening in that scene, but there's so much else that we still have left to analyze about the movie, and so I want to spend that time talking about other stuff. But it's good. It's very good. Did you have anything else specific about that?
No, just the I become more powerful than any Jedi, even you attempt to Force Lightning Yoda, and Yoda just catches it.
Mm-hmm.
And at first he forces it back, and then he catches it and just crushes it in his hand.
Yeah.
Spec-fucking-tacular. Also, there's a bunch of controls hanging from the ceiling in Dooku's spaceship. And I just need to send them to you.
Oh my. Is he doing a little handstand in there? A little space zero gravity? Take the ship do a barrel roll?
We
okay.
Pull this down. Like,
we have those in my Willy Wonka clone factory too. It's one of the whimsical trees growing in the garden. A little fruit pod that dangles down. You can just pluck them.
For the listener, it is 4 little dangly, what are definitely like joystick type things, except, 2 of them are just very sort of straight with a slight curve to them, and 2 of them are definitely rabbit vibes.
Unambiguously.
There's nothing else that's shaped like that. There definitely is, but they're just rabbit vibrators hanging from the ceiling.
You know, adds a little something.
Anyway, I spotted that and I needed to include that in our discussion.
Thank you for pointing that out because I did not notice. And now I have this knowledge and I can inflict it upon people.
Dooku gets away, and then we have Dooku flying to Coruscant, meeting up with Sidious, who addresses him as Lord Tyrannus, which is a name we heard earlier in the movie as the person who recruited Jango Fett for the project.
Oh, interesting. I totally missed that.
Jango Fett says, I was recruited by a man named Tyrannus on some moon somewhere. Moons of Bogdan, I think. But it's in response to Obi-Wan asking about Sifo Dyas, and Jango Fett says he's never heard of a Sifo Dyas.
Mhm.
But also, he says that in the, like, most suspicious way. He goes, Sifo Dyas, and then, like, walks around behind Obi-Wan, and then goes, long pause. Never heard of him. Very suspicious, and then says he was recruited by a man named Tyrannus. And that just may just be the fact that I think Jango Fett probably has two settings, and they are kill you and suspicious. So that's probably what's left. And then the closing sequence is all imagery and music, and I love the music here. Because we have a final scene with the Jedi Council and Obi-Wan, or specifically with Windu, Obi-Wan, and Yoda. And Obi-Wan refers to it as a victory. Yoda says that this was no victory. Begun the Clone War has, because Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Obi-Wan reveals that Anakin is escorting Padme back to Naboo, which means now Obi-Wan is covering for Anakin. He knows.
Because he saw them kiss.
He saw them kiss. He knows how Anakin feels about Padme. He knows how Padme feels about Anakin because she immediately runs to him when she shows up in the final chamber and hugs him. Obi-Wan knows. And now he's covering.
Oh, damn.
And later on, there are some theories about a character that we will eventually meet in Clone Wars that Obi-Wan has a history with, that there are some theories that, and I believe there's a canon moment of Obi-Wan almost left the Jedi Order for her.
Oh.
So this is not something that he's unsympathetic to.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that there have not been Jedi with, like, secret relationships, or that, you know, Jedi don't have one-night stands outside of the Order, or there are actually a couple of Jedi that have special dispensations to have families. Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, who's the dude with the tall head, apparently the way his species reproduces, there's only like one male for every like 50 females or something, and so he has 5 wives and a bunch of children. The Jedi Order is a lot more complex, and Obi-Wan's background that we'll learn more about has complexity to it, but all we know in this moment is he obviously knows, and he's covering for Anakin and Padme getting married. Whether or not he knows they're getting married is a different story, but he knows that whatever they're doing, it's together.
Yeah.
But then closing sequence imagery following the Shroud of the Dark Side has fallen, begun the Clone War has, with all of the clones marching onto the ship as the senators and Palpatine look over all of it with the Imperial March playing. And the only one who looks concerned in the corner is Senator Bail Organa of Alderaan, also known as Leia Organa's adoptive father.
Oh man.
But the fade then, direct from the Imperial March into the love theme with the secret marriage of Padme and Anakin, and the classic sort of Star Wars like side swipe fade, with Anakin then fading in. I don't know whether it was just the way I registered it, was like I registered almost a physical fade from Imperial March to Anakin to Padme, then love theme. But it may all kind of have been in one moment. These are not separate moments, they are connected. These are both moments on the road to the creation of Darth Vader. These are both moments on the road to the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. And just because we put a pretty love theme over one of them doesn't make it any less tragic in the end.
Would this be a good moment for me to talk about my thoughts about Padme and Anakin? Because I have some thoughts.
Fuck yes, it would.
Okay, all right. So let's start with Padme, because somebody needs to prioritize her for once. I have been thinking about her so much in the span of these last two movies that I've made her into a more interesting person in my head than she actually is on the screen. But and I know that there have to be so many thousands of people who have made these same arguments. But in terms of my first impressions, this is what I think. We obviously are given no reason whatsoever to buy her developing romantic feelings for Anakin. Just nothing. There's no charisma. There's no charm. You know, you can go from childhood friends to lovers. There's ways to make that work. We are given absolutely no buildup to their relationship, especially because they at least both have things that they stand for, right? And he openly believes in absolute dictatorship, and she is a democratically elected senator. And they have the whole scene in the fucking dominatrix room where she's saying how her career is really important to her. And, you know, he's a Jedi, but regardless of his career, she's got her own shit going on. And she's trying to serve her people. And this is not just a job to her. This is her entire life, her entire personality. And so when he shows his true colors, this is completely antithetical to everything that she stands for. She still goes, yes, I'm jumping on that thing. So there are some Padme paths that I propose in my rewrite of Star Wars where I think she could be interesting, because I do think that staying with Anakin and marrying him makes her a bad person. But she doesn't have to be a good person. Yay, women's wrongs. I would love for her to be a really complex character. She isn't, but she could be. And so these are my proposed paths of how she ended up in this situation with Anakin, or other alternative things that could have happened. Scenario A is, I call it the fake it till you make it. You touched on this earlier, which is after Anakin reveals that he killed all the women and children in the Tusken Raiders, she goes, oh, okay, this guy is crazy and he's dangerous. And so I need to just play really nice because I'm trapped on a planet with him and I have to get out of here so I can report his ass to Obi-Wan and get out completely. So that could have been a path. We could have had her, you know, maybe having a little bit, you know, I'm humoring him. Then maybe he has grown up a little bit. Maybe he is a little charming. Okay, maybe there could be something here. Oh, wait, never mind. We are faking this. We are getting out. That could have happened. That could have been interesting. Alternatively, we could have had a corruption arc for Padme, where there's the fake it till you make scenario, but with a twist. So she is resistant to him. She's, you know, acting the same way that she has been, but eventually gets kind of seduced by his ideals due to his intense charm and charisma. He would need charm and charisma for this to work, but especially with the stuff that Obi-Wan said earlier about senators and politicians in general not being trustworthy, we could have her buying into his vision of the future of the galaxy because she's genuinely on board with it. And she sees a chance for power, a chance to break out of the system. You know, we're not given any reason to believe that being a senator is less powerful than being queen. I don't know what the term limits on senators are, but maybe she's seeking advancement. Maybe she's seeking an alternate path. That could be interesting. Or she could think that she's manipulating him and saying, okay, you know, he's idealistic, he's young, he's stupid. I can play him. I can lead him on. I can use him for my purposes and manipulate him like a slimy little political manipulator. That could be fucking fascinating. But then, twist, she underestimates him and he's just evil and takes over. That could also be cool.
Well, because he's got young and idealistic down. Even when he professes basically a love for dictatorship, that comes out of him being like, well, everyone needs to sit down and get together and decide what's best for everyone and agree and then do that. And Padme's like, yeah, that's kind of our whole system. It just doesn't always work. And then Anakin's, Padme's like, we just don't always agree. And Anakin's like, well, then they should be made to agree by a dictator. And Padme's like, whoa, that's not great. Who's going to make them? You? And he's like, no, somebody wise. Bro, you will so easily fall down that right-wing rabbit hole.
Because that's the thing, and I think that's what I'm trying to reach for here. There's also my favorite alternative path that would never happen is just that they rule the galaxy together and she becomes an evil queen. I would fucking love that. I think that would be amazing. I want to see full evil Padme. That would be incredible. But anybody can be radicalized. Yeah. Whoever you are, whoever, however progressive your politics are, there is a brand of fascism that will appeal to you. And you have to be vigilant for it. It can happen anywhere. There's no one is immune to being seduced by things that initially might seem repellent to them if they were just out in the open. There's ways that I think Anakin could have reached her and could have been this subtle, tragic story of this person with really strong convictions somehow ending up embracing something that's the complete opposite of what she believes in. That's possible. And if I say this about cults all the time, because I'm very interested in cults, nobody is immune to joining a cult. Anyone who says, oh, I'm not like those stupid people who get sucked into a cult, that would never happen to me, they're missing the point. This kind of shit happens to reasonable, everyday people all the time. There is no reason that Padme would be inherently immune to being swayed to the dark side or to seeing things Anakin's way. But none of that happens. There's nothing that would make us believe that she believes in anything he says, that she even finds him entertaining or pleasant to be around. She obviously feels a love and connection for him because of the things that they've experienced together. And she does care for him in the way that she's just kind of a caring person and she cares for all people. But the movie gives us nothing, no reason to believe in this relationship. And so my problem isn't necessarily that they end up together. It's that we're not given anything to support it. And it just totally robs her of any kind of agency or motivation to enter into this relationship, besides the fact that George Lucas wanted her to be in it.
Yeah, I mean, all of the women in this movie are set pieces. Beru has no speaking lines. Shmi exists to be shoved into a fridge. Padme exists to fall in love with Anakin, and Corday exists to get blown up. One of my major problems with their relationship is, aside from like this introduction where there's really no way to salvage it, I feel like when we go through Clone Wars, I love the Clone Wars series because it brings so much more depth to all of the characters, including Padme. The problem is, I don't think, and I'll say this now before I've done my rewatch, before you've entered into it, and obviously our opinions can change, but I still don't feel like through the course of the Clone Wars series, we get more depth to their relationship. I feel like we get more depth to both Anakin and Padme's characters, and they both become more interesting and compelling characters over the course of the Clone Wars series, but they don't become a better couple.
Yeah.
And that's because we're starting from here. And so we are just sort of expected to understand that this is destiny, and that's how they end up together. The attraction was too strong. They're obviously destined to be together. Anakin feels very self-insert male power fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why so many of the toxic fanboys paint themselves onto him, because he's so misunderstood and so maligned by the powerful establishment. But obviously the hot woman's going to fall in love with him, even though Ewan fucking McGregor is right there.
And he's like more powerful than Obi-Wan. Actually, he's so great and so special, and he's the coolest, most specialist boy.
Yeah. So
I have things that I want to say about Anakin too.
let's roll into things to say about Anakin.
So this is, I guess, maybe slightly more brief. This is just my kind of take, just kind of taking the pulse on the Anakin situation as it stands right now with my first impressions as a new Star Wars person. I feel like Anakin was doomed from the start. He sucks.
Yes.
I hate him. He's responsible for his actions. But also, I don't really see how he could have turned out any other way. Because imagine you're Anakin. You're a small child. You are sold into slavery from the beginning of the time that you can remember. This has always been the case, that you and your mom have been alone on this fuck-ass planet owned by this creepy little bug alien. You are an extremely gifted engineer, which I think is a part of Anakin's character that gets so neglected. I think he could have lived a happy life as a droid mechanic. He was obviously extremely talented. And so he has this one hobby that brings him joy amongst all of the drudgery and being forced to do extremely dangerous labor. Suddenly, this amazing wizard shows up, and it's so incredible, and you're dazzled by him, and he has all of these promises of showing you the galaxy, and you go, okay, cool, you're gonna rescue me. You're gonna bring my mom too, right? Nope. Sorry, kid. You're one relative who you probably could have maybe done a little more to rescue. She's not coming with you. Now, I own you. Granted, you're free now, but you are completely under the control of the Jedi Order. You are being brought into a new culture that you've never experienced. You've never, like, been to school. You know, how are you going to adjust to life in the Jedi temple where there's suddenly all of these strict expectations? Your peers have all been raised in this environment since they were literal babies, and you're expected to catch up with them. And there's tons of pressure on you, whether or not people tell you that you're the child of the fucking prophecy. Everyone seems to expect things from you, but nobody's explaining it. Everything is very confusing. You miss your mom. You're probably not allowed to build droids in the Jedi Temple, so you're bored as fuck, just doing your best to try to impress your master. And then you grow up to be this teen. You're frustrated. You're confused. You see your mentor being a little bit of a rebel. He seems to have some issues with the system, but he's doing his best to parent you, but he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. You're thrown into the events of this movie. There are charismatic political leaders grooming you. There are all of these impossible situations that you're expected to deal with. Your mom dies in your arm. Like, I don't really see why he would have any particular loyalty to the Jedi Order or want to do what they say or be truly morally convicted to believe the same things they do, because he's just kind of a pawn of the universe. He's getting tossed around and everyone's telling him what to do all the time, and he's never decided anything for himself. Everyone's deciding things for him because he's this incredible force weapon that they need to keep under control. And again, he sucks and I do hate him, but I also feel like I have a lot of sympathy for his situation. Because how the fuck else was he supposed to turn out if Qui-Gon didn't live?
And that's the tragedy of it, is there is kind of the way that things worked out. There's no other way that this could have gone. There are points where things could have changed if Qui-Gon didn't die, right? if the Jedi Order was not so openly, like, hostile to him at the beginning, the Jedi Order started out expecting him to fail while also demanding that he save them.
Mhm.
So, like you said, massive expectations being placed on you, with your only mentorship coming from somebody who has just lost his father figure and has no idea what to do. No matter how good a Jedi Obi-Wan is, he is 25 years old. He's just lost his father figure, and he suddenly has a kid to take care of, who is supposedly destined to be the most powerful Jedi. This is where it would have made sense for, like, Yoda to step in. And yeah, sure, Yoda's the Grand Master of the Order. You can't have Yoda just training one person. Okay, but if he's the fucking chosen one?
Yeah, if he's the child of the prophecy, that kind of seems like a Yoda situation.
And then we have just the Jedi being sort of, like, very dogmatic. They have a series of codes that they adhere to. There's not wiggle room, but there's also not understanding of why the code is the way it is.
Mhm.
Why is he too old? Why are the attachments an issue? If we bring on this kid that now has attachments, how do we help him come out of that? Or no, we just expect him to grow out of that on his own. The Jedi Order is a shadow of what it was or what it could be. There's little lines here and there where they talk about the Jedi becoming lapdogs of the Senate, or our ability to use the Force has been diminished. We are starting in a post-apocalyptic space for the Jedi, or a decline for the Jedi that's about to fall off into apocalypse.
Mhm.
And this is the world we're bringing Anakin Skywalker into. Yeah, I mean, the way that it works out, it's like every successive little step, it becomes harder to pull him away from this.
Yeah.
But there were potential steps that could have been taken to prevent this. And that's the tragedy, is nobody took the steps. Nobody stepped up. Everyone just kind of shrugged and washed their hands of the matter.
Which is wild, because it's not like he's some random kid who fell through the cracks and his story is an, I don't know, allegory for being neglected by the system. He's the chosen one, and everyone knows this. No one just wants to take responsibility for handling him in a creative or compassionate way. It's just going, oh, well, the system doesn't work, so I don't know, maybe it'll work eventually.
Well, it's just, he's the chosen one. He'll just do it. It's very pull yourselves up by your bootstraps, God will save you type thing.
Yeah.
It's very, the universe doesn't care about you. You should have just prayed harder. There's no sense of, oh, he's chosen by the Force. Okay, what is our role? What is the Force showing us as our role?
Mm-hmm.
To putting him in a position where he can fulfill the prophecy. There's none of that. It's just, oh, he'll fulfill the prophecy. Obviously, we don't have to do anything about that.
Yeah, the Force is very convenient to say, oh, it's the will of the Force. It's not our responsibility. Except for when it's something we can take credit for, in which case, yeah, then we totally did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the Jedi are the good guys in the story narratively, but I'm not the biggest Jedi fan.
No, but are they? That's the thing. That's going to be one of our, I guess, central issues as we go forward of, yes, the Jedi are the good guys, but there is so much that has been changed or been corrupted or been ignored that ultimately they bring about their own downfall. It's, yes, the Sith are purposefully putting cracks in the wall, but the Jedi aren't repairing any of them. The Sith are exploiting previously existing cracks.
Was there anything else that you wanted to include in this?
Nope, I'm done. Wrap this thing up in a really, really tight latex dress. Hey everyone, thank you for listening to our at times rambling discussions of Star Wars Attack of the Clones. The next time we return, we will be discussing episodes 2, 3, and 4 of the Tales of the Jedi, as well as several episodes of the Clone Wars TV series, and then possibly the Clone Wars movie. We'll see how far we get. The early episodes that we will be covering are Season 3, Episode 1, Clone Cadets, Season 2, Episode 16, Cat and Mouse, and Season 1, Episode 16, Hidden Enemy, and then the Clone Wars movie. And so we will cover some grouping of that next time we talk. So, until then, you can follow our social media. Any social media we are on is at FanappPod, FANAPPPOD. I posted our first video on TikTok recently, which was wild for me because I don't think I've opened that app in literally years. But I learned I don't have to have the app downloaded to actually make things work. You can follow us on Instagram, on Tumblr, on Blue Sky. We're probably elsewhere. I don't remember all of the accounts I've made at this point.
Email.
You can email. You can send us an email at thefandomapprentice@gmail.com if you have commentary, thoughts, things we should consider for future bonus episodes, anything else you'd like us to know, a response in a timely manner. The email is the best way to get a response in a timely manner. You can also, if you just like to listen to more of the podcast, if you like what you're listening to, you can follow our podcast on whatever podcasting platform you're currently listening on, or any other podcasting platform we're on, if we are not on your preferred podcasting platform. So many P's. Please tell me, and I will do my best to get us on your preferred podcasting platform. You can also, if you really like what you're hearing, leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave us a written review. Leave us a comment. It helps goose the algorithm a little bit, and it helps folks find us, which the best way to help people find us is to tell your friends about us. Word of mouth is the best way for a small podcast like ours to spread. And if you would like to hear more words out of our mouths, you can come back in 2 weeks, and we will be discussing more Star Wars as we dive into the world of Star Wars animation, and I'm so excited.
See you next time. Bye.
The Phantom Apprentice is produced and edited by Ryn and Sam. Our music is composed and performed by James. You can find more of his work on Spotify and Bandcamp under Beiruz, Baeruz. Our art is by Casey Turgeon. You can find more of her work at KCT Designs on Instagram. The content discussed is the property of the original copyright holders and is used here under fair use.